I used to be afraid of you, but I don't think I am anymore.
There's nothing to fear except God.
For me, God is a disease.
It's the things that make you look at what you thought you saw in a different light. The hole in the Pentagon being too small for a plane. The lawn isn't mussed up. The government's not showing the plane hitting when many cameras photographed it.
There's nothing to fear except God. God.
Oh, if you already know the answers to your questions, then why ask?
It's too big.
Back and to the left, 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 back and to the left.
Welcome back, everybody. Half of God's Face has returned. I am here with Austin, who had a very tense meeting with President Trump tonight. He said, "Austin, your mother is disgusting." And you said, what was your response to him again?
I just said, I'm sorry.
You said, "Release the files."
I was like, I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry. And then I got to my knees and he took his shoe off, his dress shoe, and his sock.
No,
And his sock was actually, it was interesting with the Venus insufficiency. He had like one of those like circulation socks that took me like extra time to peel.
it's crazy. I just heard like a crazy ass story that Kanye met with Trump in 2022 and asked him to be his VP when Kanye ran for president. And apparently Trump was like, he called Kim Kardashian disgusting. He's like, tell her I said that, or something like insane. And I was like, I don't know, it might not be a verified story, but that really fucked me up hearing that. But on a related note, the movie Eddington has just come out, which is kind of a Trump era movie in a lot of ways, and it'll be interesting to discuss. A lot of angles to it as far as culturally and whatnot. So yeah, we were thinking about doing this episode for a while. I know you saw it probably a couple weeks ago at this point, right? Or like 10 days ago or something?
Yeah, about that. We had like the really, really late screening, got out like 2:30 a.m.
Oh man.
And yeah, it felt kind of I mean, gosh, this is going to sound really weird, but it felt very nostalgic. At least in terms of COVID. I don't know. COVID was very weird, and obviously many people have. I mean, there's like a cultural understanding of like what people were going through and stuff like that, and the
and you get Pedro Pascal playing the cuck.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I was pretty skeptical going into it because, you know, I have obviously respect for Ari Aster as a filmmaker because,
right,
you know, I think he has a lot of balls, but it was kind of like, all right, you're tackling like, you know, like COVID being like kind of dipping into the political sphere, you know, but I remember like early in the film, it's kind of like the grocery scene when they're kind of like, Sheriff, you gotta put on that mask. Like, nah, it's cool. Because like I worked in like the service industry, you know, I bartended through all of that, and it was just like, I mean, I obviously I don't think this like movie is completely perfect, but there's a lot of forgiveness I have because it just like, I think that scene in the grocery store, you know, when he's like, no, it's good. And everyone's just like, it's like tense as fuck, but he's just, he's not even moving. He's just standing there.
Yeah, that was a funny scene.
I mean, just on a personal note, you know, just working in the service industry, there were many, it's just like, I've seen that happen before in real life many times.
Right.
You know, somebody comes in without a mask and you don't want to get like in trouble, but someone's just like, well, I'm not leaving. And you're like, well, what and they just like kind of stand there and you're like, what do you do?
Yeah, well, and again, it's also just like that moment. That moment is so like when you really like look back at it, it's like I get it. I get like the measures and stuff. It's like especially because no one really knew what was happening, and like that mindset of like you just really, I mean, especially in the first 2-3 months of the whole world getting locked down, no one really knew at all what this thing was. So it really was just like kind of a primal fear. And,
Mm,
the mask stuff, they, it really did feel like it at least made it a little bit like you had like some kind of precaution that people were taking. But no, that's what I was thinking watching the movie. I was like, because there was that scene where it's like all the kids are all wearing masks and they're all drinking with each other, and I'm just kind of like, did anyone experience that? Like, I mean, again, I'm sure people experience that, but
yeah.
in a split second, I was like, that is not how my that's not how my COVID went. And I was also kind of
Yeah.
like, damn, were there really? And I think there probably was like high schoolers, wearing masks. 'Cause I'm pretty sure like anyone that I know that was partying during COVID, and I really don't know that many people. Um, but maybe they've been on the podcast. No, I'm just joking. But I'm pretty sure they didn't wear masks when they were partying.
Yeah.
So but it is interesting because the movie has this real like satirical um side to it, which I really appreciated. It almost reminded me of
Right.
like a Robert Coover novel. Robert Coover is one of the great American authors of the last like 50 years or so, and he's written so many books that are exactly that kind of setting. It'll be a small town and there will be all these different people in town, and there'll be kind of main characters and side characters, and it just there's like crazy conflicts and people spouses cheating on each other and stuff. But it's kind of like a satirical thing, so I feel like really at its best, one of the things that also cracked me up, um and I mean, I'm kind of scatterbrained going into this because
Sure.
I I was really I kind of almost had no opinion on Ari Aster's depiction of 2020. I think that's one of the things that I mean, I honestly might be down to rewatch this movie sometime just because I really was trying to just process, did he do a good job on depicting 2020? He kind of raises it to the level of satire, but there was so much going on
Right.
that I'm almost like, damn, that's so complicated. And then the movie, like, we'll get into spoilers like a little bit later, but essentially when the movie really starts to like hit into high gear, I was even more like, oh my god, now I like have to just completely forget my analysis because I was really trying to get an angle on what I
Yeah.
thought about his interpretation of 2020. But I'd agree with people in general that I think it is fairly
Yeah.
even-handed. I don't think he's leaning any direction because he's pretty fairly like this whole era was. And like I said, even though I think if high schoolers were hanging out drinking during the pandemic, like in those first couple months, I first of all, I don't think they'd wear masks, but I think having them wear masks in that situation, in that scene, that actually just speaks to like kind of
Mm.
the inconsistency of it all. And a lot of it was just like people trying their best because no one really knew what was happening. So there was a lot of just kind of different, there's definitely different rules and stuff, but it's like in that like moment. But yeah, the way it depicts like, George Floyd and stuff was interesting because
Oh yeah.
it was, again, it's mainly just kids that are all just kind of getting together and protesting, like especially in areas where they didn't have riots and stuff. I mean, I know even back in the suburbs people were marching for BLM and stuff at the height of COVID, and I feel like that seemed to be completely real as well. Like a lot of the movie was
Yeah.
pretty historically accurate, but I almost have like little question marks on like why he made certain decisions that I'm still processing, I guess.
Well, you mean probably like with Joaquin Phoenix, how he's just like, it's weird because it seems like he's quick to act, but he's also, he's like just stuck.
Right.
He's just stuck in place. I mean, well, you were talking about I've heard a lot of critique about like, you know, people that have reviewed the movie and they're like, I think you just can make like a better movie about COVID. And I'm like, well, dude, it's one, I think it's the only one that has been really made like this.
Yeah, to actually look at it like in a direct way like that.
So yeah, I mean, I get that there's so, like you said, so many things going on, and it's
Right.
probably as the filmmaker very difficult to juggle. But
Because people are on their phones and stuff, and people are on social media, and it's always I mean, it's definitely not a cinematic idea to, you know, show people on their phones in a movie, but it's honest. I mean,
no, it's the freaking kid when he was scrolling. It was like
mhm.
some girl's ass in a G-string, and there was like some guy getting like handcuffed, and that's like that's what Instagram is. It's just half of it is people getting shot in the head or like car wrecks or fucking thongs. That's like all Instagram, and I was just like, oh my god,
Or
it was
just
so
pure
subtle.
racism.
Yeah, kind of like that subversive meme culture, but yeah, I was interested in like the youth in the film
Right.
because they're
Yeah, isn't that same kid? So the kid goes to that party where he's like, you know, talking to the chick, and then she posts like the weirdest selfie where it's like the weirdest like context for like a selfie that a young girl would never post like in 1,000 years on her Instagram. Like
yeah.
it like looked so, which also when I saw that I was like, this isn't even like how a selfie looks, but then I almost was like, man, this is like, I think this is kind of self-aware like satire, but then it was really funny when the guy, he went home, I think it was that same kid, he went home to his mom and dad and he's like, yeah, I just believe we need to like destroy whiteness, like whiteness and like white
Oh, that's
supremacy.
like I've
And
seen
then
that on so many Letterbox reviews. I don't want to like say it
and
in
the
the
dad was
podcast.
just like, you're an idiot, basically.
Yeah,
And
he
it was
says you are, you know, the R word, you're fucking white.
uh no, that was Ari Aster really skewered that guy. Not to spoil like his arc, but that young boy just is kind of like pivoting. Like he clearly doesn't really know like what he believes, but
Yeah.
he's kind of getting into BLM. And again, I think that is the interesting part about the movie because it really was like a social pressure. I mean, people were so pent up
Mm.
with COVID, like staying inside during COVID, that when you know George Floyd was murdered, um, people like flipped out, which you know pretty much justifiably so. I mean, it felt like it felt like it was a very like I wouldn't call it reasonable. That wouldn't necessarily be my word because it was a huge thing, like how many protests there were and stuff, and there were riots and whatnot. But
Yeah, for
the
sure.
impetus made sense, like the anger over this guy getting killed obviously was very justifiable anger. And I remember everyone was just so angry. I was really angry. I mean, anyone you talk to, it's like, this is just the most appalling thing. And it was just such a spark to like go from sitting inside for months to like go out of the street. I didn't go to any protests or anything, but I saw a lot of friends, you know,
Mm.
who were posting online, being at like protests and stuff. And I don't know though. I mean, when it goes from that to, you know, people all wearing masks, and then it's like a white kid being like, I need to do more as a white person. It just it spirals out of control really
Well, yeah, that
fast
is the
from
absurdity of it. He's a teenager. What is he going to do?
because even in the case of the cops in the film, like Joaquin Phoenix and stuff,
Oh
it's
my god.
they are very kind of ineffectual. They just are the cops of the town, and
There's only
obviously,
like 3 of them, right?
yeah, and
Which
obviously
is hilarious.
until the movie starts to go wild later on. Early on in the movie, you're kind of like, okay, so this gives you a taste that it's not like these guys are necessarily even that corrupt. They're kind of just like, you know, they're kind of goofballs, and they're talking to each other too, and they're like, yeah, this George Floyd thing is messed up. But you know, Joaquin, I think he sees
He's like, well,
like
that's not our
Antifa
fault.
stuff.
Like we're in Colorado. Like that
Yeah.
has nothing to do with us.
Well, then he looks on his phone. He sees like Antifa stuff, like on Instagram, and
my
he's like
God, yeah.
he's kind of nervous about it. So you see all sides, and you see how like
Oh yeah, the cops are getting shot on like a
yeah,
Instagram.
it's showing like it's like showing some shit like in Portland or something. But
yeah, okay.
it is a lot. That's why it's interesting to talk about, because even us talking about it now, I'm still trying to parse out what exactly, because I think the COVID setting is almost more incidental in the sense where it was like, I think it's kind of like, let's do a movie that's contemporary, but the thing that's bizarre is that it's so long ago at this point. It feels like, the fact that it was 5 years ago, but it's still very much a contemporary movie. And then, someone opens up their phone, it's like Bitcoin, like a generic Bitcoin like background. And I was just
Yeah.
like, that was also hilarious. But I like that kind of stuff where it's kind of skewering the modern world. But and again, I feel like it was pretty critical of all sides. But no, and then I guess the two people I was kind of confused why they were even in the movie, but it was, it's interesting is the Austin Butler and then the Emma Stone
Yeah,
character.
that's been kind of like a common theme, is kind of like, well, I mean, at least in terms of Emma Stone, like
She like barely like had any
normally
scenes.
she's like the fucking she is like the fucking you know what I mean? She is like
Right.
absolutely the grasp and everything, and she just kind of like dips out. And
Yeah,
the
because
only thing that interests me about Austin Butler was kind of the fact that we were kind of talking about it with that one that one lady.
Kathy
That
O'Brien.
Yeah, I was like watching it at the theater. I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what Zach was telling me about Kathy O'Brien. Like, oh my gosh, he just felt like so. But what was weird is kind of like he had like a moral high ground because he was like claiming he was abused, which was interesting. But yeah,
Right. That was where I really had a tough time, because I really, because again, it's just, they're such huge stars and they're in like this kind of side part, and it's kind of like, okay, why even cast Emma Stone at that point if she's like barely in the movie? But it did speak to the time, because a lot of people have made this comment, and I think a lot of people have had this arc before and after COVID, where COVID really broke a lot of people. Like, people either went crazy because they were crazy scared of COVID, people went crazy because they hated the police, people went crazy because they discovered every conspiracy known to man, and but it is true. I mean, it really is the arc of a lot of people, that they're just forced to go inside and they immediately start doing all this deep research, and they, so it was interesting, this like MK Ultra style victim guy who is popping up. And I feel like the movie in his case was the most, like, I think it took him the least seriously. I feel like the movie kind of
yeah,
understood. I think it understood Joaquin, and it was fairly empathetic with Joaquin in a lot of ways. And I feel like the movie was empathetic with people marching for BLM, and I think it was pretty nice to Pedro Pascal as well. But he also kind of has like ambitions in this town and stuff. So there's a lot of people that are trying to advance like themselves, like in this like world, but like the rules are, everything is just very topsy-turvy, and like it's just completely new sets of rules on the fly. I think that was the thing that was most confusing about COVID, and I think that's the most difficult aspect about looking back at it, is like, people take like a strong side and stuff. I mean, I think there was like a lot of incompetence on all sides with COVID. It was just so impossible to really know what was going on pretty much the entire time. And even to this day, I think you can really debate like what happened, why it happened, what were the results, like all kinds of insane stuff. And
sure,
I think you could be skeptical about, the fact that the whole country was just locked down aggressively and destroyed all these small businesses at the same time as realizing, like, this disease was terrifying, and
yeah,
it really, I mean, it made a lot of, I mean, the mask thing, it really makes sense just because it's at least giving people something. Like, people just feel powerless if you're like, yeah, this is just an airborne thing, and it's like, okay, well, wear this mask, and it genuinely made people feel better, which I think was its most useful. thing, and like Joaquin, it's like really funny because he's like an authority figure and stuff. But it's not.
Who
But
gets COVID?
yeah, but he doesn't have. He's equally as unsure as everybody else is. I think
Yeah.
where Ari Aster is reasonable, but yeah, I it was interesting. I'm not even going to get into like deep into the movie, but I feel like the movie kind of plays with this idea of the unreliable narrator at times too. Which I can get into more like when we get into like the spoilers and stuff, which
Right.
we can get into like in like 10-20 minutes or something, but just hinting at the spoilers, there's stuff that happens where I really like in real time was like, really? Did they go in that direction? But it did seem to be almost like a worse nightmare for Joaquin. And I feel like they're another version of Eddington. He could have gotten obsessed with this stuff with his wife and with Austin Butler. And there's this whole plot line where I think she like is accusing I think she has some kind of mysterious experience that he then tries to blame on the Pedro Pascal mayor guy. And
Yeah.
I don't know exactly if that really happened. He basically has a false accusation against Pedro Pascal just because he's running for mayor. Joaquin decides to run for mayor against like the lib the lib Pedro Pascal guy who.
And he's like doing the Alex Jones thing in Walking Life in his fucking car.
Yeah, it's so funny because I was just hanging out with Eamon and Nico, and I was like, pull up Alex Jones' Waking Life right now, and we just like watched it. Which, side note, it is a little bit weird that Joe Rogan has never mentioned the name Richard Linklater. I don't think he's ever said even his name, let alone had him on the podcast. It's like Richard Linklater has lived in Austin his whole life, as far as I know. I don't think he's gone anywhere. So I think those guys might actually kind of have a beef, to be honest, because that's so bizarre. Like you would think that the most famous, like I mean, Terrence Malick, Richard Linklater, Alex Jones, like are all like notorious Austin people. And anyway, that's a whole side thing.
Yeah.
But no, why was I even bringing that up? I was even forgetting. No, because we were talking about Alex Jones. Yeah, because he has like the Alex Jones thing, which is
he's running for mayor and everything, and he's
yeah,
in the
and
car.
he has all these crazy slogans on the car where he's like, "Don't make real life into Facebook" or something.
Yeah, it's all it's weird because I don't know like in my head the population of Eddington.
Uh-huh.
But like it's interesting how he's like driving through the town and the mayor's son is on a bike and he's like, "Yo, no one's even listening to you, bro. No one's here." But like why is his son there in the first place?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
You just mean like you think this town is like tiny?
I don't know. I mean, yes and no, because I mean, there's perspectives of when people are on top of the hills and everything, but
right.
I get it's COVID and people aren't, going out, but it seems very like politically divided.
Yeah, well, that was the thing about the movie that I was just kind of like, okay, because it's like all the characters are constantly going out. Like, I don't know. I don't know if that's I mean, I get it's a movie and this is heightened and stuff, but I feel like that would be the thing that's like almost misleading about it to like future, like if someone looked at that movie and they're like, this is what COVID was like. I definitely like if someone asked me like, hey, was this what it was like to live through COVID? I would be like, not really. Like we were doing nothing. I mean,
well,
I get people were working, but I mean, people are constantly like going out in the movie, and I was kind of just like, I wondered if he maybe should have had the other end of the extreme because literally every character is always going out. I don't even remember. I mean, even the mom, I feel like she was kind of inside, like Emma Stone's mom, but I feel like there wasn't really a character that was like super like terrified of COVID and never went outside. You get what I'm saying? Like he kind of almost didn't acknowledge just how much people like there were people that like didn't leave their home. Like I did not.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah, that's interesting.
because that's like kind of what I think of with COVID. It was just boring. But I get people have a wide range of experiences and stuff, and it is a movie. So some of this is satire, but that is just us talking about it now. That is maybe the piece that maybe I would have added in, because if you're going to have an MK Ultra victim in Austin Butler, and you're also going to kind of hint at this Antifa stuff, like the direction the movie ends up going, I feel like the Austin Butler character, but then again, I kind of want to see the movie again just because it is so. I would say the second half, when it really starts to get going, there are moments in it where I'm like, wow, this is, I don't know where this is going to go, but this is like, this is compelling.
Yeah.
Just because I don't know where it's going. And I definitely want to, reinterpret the second half of the movie, because I'm almost just stuck on the portrayal of COVID and stuff, because then it just becomes more of like it becomes more of kind of like because it's always kind of like a Western noir of sorts, like the movie. It's kind of like a combination of a Western and
Like
a
the
noir.
fucking
And then
tumbleweed blows by. And
yeah. And it just kind of fully becomes a thriller later on. And then all the COVID
Yeah.
stuff isn't as important. But I was almost thinking that, in the fashion of like Eyes Wide Shut, where you kind of look too deep into something type thing. I was almost thinking that could have popped up after I was done watching the movie, because I didn't know where it was going. But after it was done, I was like, man, I wonder what could have happened if he like got obsessed with this Austin Butler guy, and then maybe the Austin Butler guy starts telling him about like the origin of COVID or something. Because there are definitely people saying crazy shit, right? Like, who are trying to like predict like what the virus is and stuff in the
Oh,
movie.
yeah,
Like,
for
it's
sure.
mainly like Emma Stone's mom is the main one who's saying
God.
wild shit.
Well, I mean, on a personal note, I know like maybe 20, 25 people like that. Just coming to the bar and they're like, well, blah, 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 blah. And the weather with the Jewish people and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like,
No.
And
Yeah,
it's,
you are.
It's an interesting thing to be like, yeah, let's stop fucking, like, I feel like, like, let's not fucking talk about COVID. But then there's this other part of me that's like,
You mean with the movie, or just like in your experience working at a bar?
just an experience when, people like bring COVID up and stuff and like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In
Well, 'cause
retrospect, but
it's kind of just
still
too
interesting.
like heavy. There are certain conversations where it's like I'm just like so like hesitant even now to talk about COVID, because it was so complicated and such an experience I would love to never have again. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't have your experience. I mean, you're kind of the QAnon whisperer, so you have a little bit more. You have a few more, because
I break
definitely
open
am.
a Zen, like, the chewing tobacco, or that isn't like tobacco, it's like nicotine.
Right.
They all just like flock towards me. Like,
Oh my
birds
God.
at a picnic.
It is then. Yeah, because I'm interested in like conspiracies and stuff. I mean, I just do so much research. I did have a very research oriented brain, but I feel like you have always kind of, I mean, the last couple of years being where you're at, you've experienced a lot more firsthand, like the schizophrenic version of people that are interested in conspiracy, and people that, are huge MAGA people who are also giving their theories on COVID and stuff. And it was a
Yeah.
very particularly Trumpian moment for COVID to happen on his watch. I mean, it's just the most batshit nuts year of our lives, and it happens to be when this guy is the president, and half the country is obsessed with him. And I don't know. Even then, though, I feel like the vibe with Trump was a lot
Yeah.
different. Like, I feel like the vibe was.
There's
Like, I don't think,
there's a very emblematic like moment that has been captured on video where like they're like zooming in, like trying to get the focus right, and he's like making a statement in the White House, and he's like, "What?" And it's like I'm pretty sure this is like January, February, March 2020, and he's like, "What? Oh fuck!" Like, he's just like so exhausted. He's like, "Oh my God, this is fucking nightmare." Like,
that's in Eddington.
no, that's like that's like real life with Trump. They're like,
oh, okay.
They're like zooming in, trying to get the focus right, and he's like, "What?" And it got like leaked somehow digitally, and he's like, "Oh fuck."
Yeah. No, I don't. it's so hilarious too, because people, I mean, again, because obviously he picked RFK, so now it's even easier for people to call Trump an anti-vaxxer. But people really don't seem to remember, especially like left leaning people. They don't really seem to remember that Trump, like, he takes credit for the vaccine. Like he was Operation Warp
Warp
Speed,
speed. Yeah.
which, in my opinion, if you're going to even talk about any aspect of like the COVID stuff, I mean, I think it's very, I mean, again, he had positions in real time that went one way or the other. At times he would be for the lockdowns, at times he would be like, I think he was against mandating people to get a vaccine, and then you get fired if you didn't get it. I think he was against that, but I don't think he was really like in office when that was happening. That was more like he opposed the Biden policy, if that makes sense. Though he was pro-vaccine, even though people that hate Trump would say he has always been an anti-vaxxer. In reality,
Right.
he pushed the COVID vax. He wanted people to get it. He was
Yeah.
proud of trying to get it developed, and it
Well,
got
there's
announced.
that thing when he's like, he had a rally. I think it was during the Biden presidency before primaries and stuff, and he's like,
Uh-huh.
he's talking about the vaccine, and people are like, boo boo. He's like, yeah, well, it's great, but you have your choice. You have your choice. But
No,
you should get it. But if you don't want to, that's cool. Which
well, I
is
mean,
just so
if that
fucking
is,
weird.
yeah, I mean, that speaks to just how schizophrenic 2020 really was. The fact that the guy that the average like lib will say is an anti-vaxxer is just hardcore pro-vaccines, pro-lockdown, and I don't even know if the movie had too many depictions of people like really being MAGA. I mean, he pops up like on screens
Yeah,
and stuff, and it's kind of in the air, but you don't have like if this was Twin Peaks: The Return, like they had some characters in that kind of felt like vloggers
yeah.
and stuff. I could see people from The Return being hardcore MAGA and being proud about it because
That's so interesting with like the Twin Peaks,
yeah,
because it just like, obviously like Ari Aster has done mostly like horror and like kind of like fucked up shit, and it seemed, I get that kind of like same vibe with like the characters where it's just like
yeah,
oh hey,
which
what's
is
up,
very
oh no, don't worry, you're wearing a mask, well, I'm just going to point a gun at you then, like
no, it's
not
very
that not that that's
it's
how simple it is, but it just
yeah.
like escalates to these fucking spots, and it's like it does seem like satirical, maybe like hyperbolic, but almost like you kind of like not really in the same way, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, it's pure Robert Coover. I mean, Robert Coover, he did the Brunists. The Origin of the Brunists is a book from the 60s, and it's about a mining disaster. And the book starts and all these people die, all these men die in this mining disaster. And it kind of
Jesus.
it pivots around this town, and it's like the relatives of the people that were in the mine and all this kind of stuff, and one guy survives. I think his name is like Bruno or something, and he becomes the head of a cult. So the series, the origins of the Brunists, the first book is about a cult that forms, and all these people have this like devotion, but it's cutting around all the characters, similar to like Eddington or like a Twin Peaks: The Return, and like a town like that. And you have like
Mm.
kind of high school age people, and you'll have scenes where it's like, you have like a little love affair between like, two high school kids, like we'll kind of have a little romantic getaway. And then there's epic explosive crescendo conclusions of like, the Brutus rally like thousands of people to the town because they think there's going to be like an apocalypse and like Christ is coming back and some shit like that. And Hoover, he was even more crazy than how I explained it. He literally published a sequel to the Brunist book 50 years later, and it's 1,000 pages. He did a second book called Brunist Day of Wrath, which is like, it's like 10 times as good as the first book.
Oh
It's like the
shit.
most insane. He was like 70 years old and he spent 10 years working on it. he had friends that were like, yeah, don't spend 10 years writing a sequel to your Brunus book 50 years later and you're like in your
Yeah,
70s.
but
He just did it anyway. And the book is insane. And it's like exactly kind of all this stuff we're talking about. I mean, I would argue better. I mean, it's definitely better than Eddington. I mean, I think The Return is obviously in itself incredible, but the Brunus Day of Wrath definitely goes toe to toe with The Return. I mean, that's one of the most
yeah.
that is a bold statement from me because this is kind of cross literature film analysis, but I mean that could really be like a top 50, top 70 novel I've like ever read. I mean, it's one of the
Oh my God.
best American novels of since the 20th century began. I mean, in the last 100 years, 120 years, the Brunus Day of Wrath is definitely one of the most exciting, explosive. And I think the book is also set like maybe like I forget how many years. It's been a second since I read it, but it's like all the same kind of characters in the sequel, but it's like years later. But it's like a perfect satire. It's like a satire about America, about religion in America, about politics, and it's kind of actually really similar to Eddington. It explodes into gunfire.
Oh,
The Brutus Day of Wrath. I don't want to spoil it because I doubt anyone listening to this podcast will read the book, but just a little, yeah. That book has the craziest last 200 pages humanly possible. Like there's like biker kids that are part of the gang that are just like that are just going around killing people, and it's like insane. But it really does remind me of Eddington. Like it really is kind of. I really wouldn't put it past Ari Aster because in an interview he said the last two great things I've seen are
oh yeah.
Afternoons
I
of
knew you were going to bring this
Solitude.
up. I knew you were going to bring this up.
He brought up the Albert Serra bullfighting doc, which we almost did an episode on, and then he brought up Shifty, the Adam Curtis. So I wouldn't put it past him. He might have really read Robert Coover. The Public Burning is also about that, which is one of my favorite novels ever, which is Richard Nixon is the lead character in The Public Burning by Robert Coover, which very similar to the Brunus Day of Wrath. It's like a ton of characters going to like an event. So there's like all these epic like crowd sequences is kind of the way I would describe it. But no, I think I really loved the part when everyone's like protesting and Joaquin starts to like kind of flip out. Like he takes someone's phone and shit.
No, or when they claim assault later, when he's like, I only did that. No, that's like so. It's funny, but it's kind of like I would say probably the benefit of this film, like bending that fucking truth, or the line of obviously, I think it's fair to call this movie absurd. But in like a positive way.
I am seeing so many similarities to Robert Coover. The more I think about it, it's like striking. Because in the Brunus books, the characters always end up degrading. And he does this thing in The Public Burning also, which is like one of the great American satires about Richard Nixon having the Rosenbergs executed. And it's like it's a parody of that because it's imagining a world in which instead of I think they got the electric chair or something or maybe they got poisoned. I forget.
It was the electric chair.
But the plot of the book is that they're gonna put them in the electric chair in front of like a crowd in Times Square on the 4th of July. And it's like a party and like every major celebrity of the 1950s shows up. So there's all these celebrities coming on stage and they're like announcing it and people are like applauding. And Nixon is like a mess throughout the book, but as the book goes on, he starts to degenerate. He tries to get into a cab at one point, and I think he like rips off like his shirt or something. So he like has like his shirt becomes in tatters, and then
so hot in here. Oh my god!
And then as the book goes on, this crazy like comic image develops where his pants fall down, and his pants are around his ankles. And so he's walking everywhere with his shirt in tatters and his pants around his ankles. That's like how the book develops. And it is this degeneration, which ends up kind of happening to the lead character of Eddington, to the Joaquin character. like pretty much the same kind of arc as you see in some of these Robert Coover books. So I really see a strong. I really think. I kind of think Ari Aster's read Robert Coover.
Damn. Well, is that where we rip off the gloves for the spoilers?
Oh man, I mean, what was there anything else we forgot to talk about in the first half of the movie? I'm trying to think of like if there's anything else.
I don't know. I would just like to reiterate that it is funny that there's 3 people in this fucking sheriff's office, and like early on, he like kind of tackles a homeless guy.
Oh yeah, he gets into a fight with the homeless guy.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't even really bring up that. Yeah, it is kind of like a man versus man conflict. The movie, just because it's about Joaquin versus Pedro Pascal, and there kind of is this like there'll be blood kind of feeling at times, like when they kind of start slapping each other and stuff. And
well, I don't think Joaquin slapped him back.
Okay, so yeah, Pedro Pascal slaps him at one point.
Well,
the movie, there's a lot of like humiliation in the movie, which again reminds me of Robert Coover, where it's like Joaquin gets so humiliated that he just gets to a point where he's like, "Fuck Pedro Pascal."
Well, yeah, I like that, but in terms of the politics, like you smear them, you humiliate them in terms of the politics. I mean, obviously he does smack him in the face, but he's kind of like right. Joaquin Phoenix like makes this horrifically, well, I don't know.
Is that after he makes that crazy accusation? That's Pedro when he goes to the party and tries to shut down the party.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so that's, this is more of a spoiler because it's easy to talk about all the COVID stuff and like it's, but really the first major spoiler I would say in the movie is that to try to win this mayoral race against Pedro Pascal, Joaquin accuses Pedro Pascal of sexually abusing his wife.
I should.
And then no, but it's funny because it's like such an uncomfortable scene, but you're also kind of like, is this real? Like you don't, and there's like this weird vibe with Emma Stone where you don't know. And I thought they brought some stuff up early in the movie with Pedro Pascal where he like, isn't he like signing a document at one point that has to do with something like shady, like a mistress or something?
Right, but it's done. I would say like purposely vague.
Yeah, it's vague, so it kind of leaves it in your brain that maybe something happened. So for a split second, you're like, "Damn, did this actually happen?" And Emma Stone seems to be upset at Joaquin for doing this, but then doesn't the mom say something where she's like almost happy?
Oh,
that he's like trying to defend her. Because was it her idea that Emma Stone had gotten abused by Pedro Pascal? Or
yes, well, yeah, pretty much. And
partly,
that's a whole other like great thing about the movie is like the fact that like the mom is clearly like, I would say, in terms of the filmmaking, like the fucking outcast of the movie. Besides the homeless guy, I mean, obviously there's no like he has no fucking political agenda. He's just, but yeah, but they kind of like, well, getting close to the spoiler territory, like they seem like they're distanced in terms of like their space, and like he doesn't even want to like fucking talk to her when like they're having like breakfast or they're waking up and she's like just rambling about like how much of a fuck up he is, and like her husband, who is also the sheriff.
Oh, okay.
Well, in the past, but they obviously kind of like grow closer, but yeah.
Yeah, so I think she kind of puts it in his head, and then he figures it'd be politically advantageous, and then he says it, and then his wife goes online and goes, "My husband lied about that. That didn't happen." And then it's like, what? This is such a crazy moment. I also thought it was funny whenever they would post, he would like post that he announces he's running for mayor, and he'd get like 20 likes.
Well, yeah, that's why I was like, how small is this fucking, like, how small is Eddington, dude?
Well, no one's on Facebook. Even at the height of COVID, I don't think anyone would even notice. Like it wouldn't go viral
Huh.
if like, and that was almost the funny thing is, it almost seems like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't even know if his like accusation even does go viral. I think he like wanted it to, and then it just didn't. I think it was like it was captured in the schizo
the
in the
like diner that like 5 people are at.
okay, so yeah, so
And
someone does watch
yeah.
it.
Well, it's when they're like he shows up late because of the protest.
Right.
And it does seem like in terms of the, like I said, in terms of the filmmaking, like it's like kind of like a climactic moment. Like, damn, he's like getting dirt on this guy. Like, this is nice because we're kind of like in a fucked up way rooting for him. But there's like 5 people at the fucking, and then you think this is going to go out and it's going to like fuck up Pedro Pascal's political campaign, and then
Yeah.
it doesn't. His wife comes out against him, like you said, and then he's like having a fucking party.
Yeah, then he's having a party at the height of COVID, and everyone's wearing a mask.
Yeah, which is
the
like
ultimate lib.
No,
The
that's
ultimate fucking lib. No, I was gonna say that.
yeah.
I think Joaquin's character tried to post like his accusation, and it just got swallowed up into the hell of schizo boomer Facebook. Which is so funny because
No, yeah.
whenever I log on to Instagram, I see all kinds of stuff. But whenever I go onto Facebook, I
Oh
see
my god.
I see like flat Earth shit. I see alien shit. I mean, I see stuff where I'm like, damn, I actually think I'm the crazy one. I don't know why this is my algorithm on, even though I never like use Facebook. Like, I'm just kind of like, how is this what I'm seeing? Like, this is so insane. Like, it's literally like, look at this. You can't see the curve of the Earth. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, I don't believe this, but I will click this because this is hilarious. Which is, I do appreciate about Eddington the fact that it's so chaotic, but it's also just true. I mean, the 2020s is just we're in. I mean, schizo boomer, the schizo boomer mentality has just become all of our brains. I think whether you are politically left, politically right, moderate, I think everyone kind of got a little unhinged because of
Yeah.
COVID.
Well, what was cool is Ari Aster said one of the like main inspirations of the film was JFK
oh, right,
in a podcast, and he said I feel like everyone now is trying to be Jim Garrison. Like they're trying to be Kevin Costner. Like everyone, like he's unique in that film, and he said it was like ahead of the time. But like everyone now is just trying to.
No, I mean that's
unearth something,
right.
Whether it's personal, like in the film, obviously, Joaquin Phoenix's political ambitions are kind of laughable, but like understandable.
Mm-hmm.
It's and obviously it's done very quickly. Like, yeah, put up the whiteboard, start slogans. This and
right, which is so funny because the whiteboard ends up fucking with him later. But yeah, I think so. I'm trying to remember the sequence of events. At a certain point in the movie, the big spoiler that kind of catapults the film into like a completely different energy.
Yeah, I think we're there.
Yeah, is basically that Joaquin just says fuck it and he just kills Pedro Pascal and like his son with like a sniper rifle.
Did that shock you?
Yeah, that was
because
that was pretty wild. I don't remember. Did it show him going up into the hills with the rifle, or did you just see like
no?
Pascal
Yeah,
get
it's just
first?
like okay, it's vivid to me. So it's basically just kind of like there's some space in the film that has been very focused on like Joaquin Phoenix's character, and it's kind of been missing this Pascal element specifically after like when he smacks him,
right.
And he's just kind of like this girl's fucking wallet gets like left at his house.
Oh yeah.
And it's kind of like this political moment where like, dude, there's like people like in the fucking living room, like this was not allowed, and he's like going out, and then his dad just gets fucking shot.
Yeah, because Pascal, he's always telling his son to like not hang out with anyone at the height of COVID. And then he's like in his living room, gets killed by
clearly
Joaquin.
Going out to like go hang out with more people. But what's interesting with that was like the scene before, which I think Ari Aster like did in a very good way, is kind of like you see the guy like fucking with the bar again, like the homeless guy,
right?
And
that's how it started.
I was like, yeah, this guy's getting shot.
So Joaquin kills the homeless guy first, and then he kills
Pedro
and
Pascal. I was like completely on board. Like I understood like the arc of maybe something that was potentially happening, and I was like, yeah, this guy's totally about to get shot. But then when it cut to like Pedro Pascal's like beautiful fucking home, I was like not expecting that at all.
Yeah, because the thing with the homeless guy that made a lot of sense just from like the worldview of like Joaquin is just his character is that he got totally screwed over trying to get this guy out of the bar and gets accused of doing police brutality, even though he obviously didn't in that specific case, and was like people online were saying that he was like a dirty cop, right?
And isn't it like his Pedro Pascal's son that like records it somehow? Like, but in retrospect,
it might have been.
I could be wrong about that, but
it makes sense. So he goes into the bar and it's like empty, and he just sees the homeless guy, and he's like, "Fuck it, I'm just gonna kill this guy," because that's if we learn anything from movies about serial killers and stuff, it's like serial killers target people that no one cares about. Because literally no one, like if a homeless guy fell off the face of the earth, like no one will like make an issue of that. So in the split second, the psychology for Joaquin, I can tell is very much kind of, and this goes way into like the deep part of the movie, but deep in the movie, he's watching young Mr. Lincoln, like basically in the ending of the film, there's a scene where he's like in bed and the John Ford movie Young Mr. Lincoln is on the TV, starring Henry Fonda. And I actually just rewatched that because it was in the movie. But that movie is about a young Abraham Lincoln trying to bring order to like a town in a similar way, like in like a Western type of scenario. And he's like a lawyer in the movie. So he's like basically defending these two boys on the charge of murder. It's like a kind of a procedural film. So it has nothing. Young Mr. Lincoln has nothing to do with his presidency. It's just about, it's essentially a Western. It's like, a vintage, like a sheriff tries to restore order. So in that way, the movie is kind of hinting that Joaquin's insecurity is that he's just getting completely annihilated and obliterated by this moment in time. And he has no ability to control anything, to the degree that the government is trying to control him and trying to make him wear a mask. And he's in like this complete chaos, and the government's almost enforcing chaos from his perspective. And social media kind of ignites this chaos even more, where he tries to help and he gets blamed for police brutality. So he sees this homeless guy, and his calculus is, I think it does start from this place of, if this guy was gone, we have less problems in the town, and I'm sick of the problems in the town. So then he kills him. I think he buries him in the desert or something. And where did he put the guy's body? Didn't he like bury him or get rid of the body or something? No, he dumped it in the lake.
Yeah, it was
right?
it was water. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he dumped the body in the lake. So I think from that mindset, he just kind of got to a point where he's like, okay, well, Pedro Pascal is the next guy that's fucking with the town, and I'll have authority to handle the investigation. So
there's a brilliant fucking line from the one dude who's like, hey man, I don't know you're gonna like what you see, but you actually just won the mayor election or whatever he said.
Yeah, that was wild.
I was like, yo, because that's kind of it. Like,
no,
he doesn't know what the fuck is going on, so he's just kind of like, hey, I mean, the mayor's dead, so I mean, this is fucked
Right.
up, obviously, but hey, good for you, brother.
I think that guy might have actually been the most MAGA in the movie. That his fellow
Oh
cop.
God.
Doesn't
Oh
he
my
say
God.
some wild shit about
No,
like the protesters at times?
Yeah, there's so many other angles with that. How like they fucking like pin the fucking murder on the fucking black
Well,
cop.
yeah. So basically,
And
he
he is
kills.
like way more into it than the guy who's actually orchestrating it.
Well, before we even get to that, I was
Yeah,
just going to
sorry.
say that I really wonder how much foreknowledge Joaquin had when he killed Pedro Pascal, because it seems just kind of impulsive, but then as the scenes play out when they're looking at the murder, it does kind of feel like he knew he would have jurisdiction, but then they're battling with jurisdictional rights with this Native American guy
That's
because
why
it's
I'm
like,
like, why is this? What is this actual size of this town? I know we have a shot of it.
well, yeah, that might be. I think that they were saying that that's like on the outskirts of the town where the mayor was like living, probably.
Oh God, yeah, and then the freaking okay, yeah.
And so it overlapped with a reservation. So then this Native American guy is kind of snooping around as Joaquin's trying to like set someone else up for the murder, and he ends up trying to set up the black dude because the black cop was, I guess, dating or hanging out with this high school chick who ends up
Oh
getting with the
God.
son of Pedro Pascal, and he's like literally like there's like a photo of taken of like the chick like making out with his son. It was something like that where I kind of got lost in the shuffle of when that happened. But so Joaquin tries to pin it all on one of his fellow police officers, and then the Native American guy very innocently sees this giant whiteboard of slogans which involve like how much he hates Pedro Pascal.
He like runs out of the fuck. Like, funnily, it's hilarious. He just
Yeah,
is
what
like,
were
do.
Do you remember any of the slogans on the whiteboard? I forgot
God, I wish. I mean, it
because I thought
definitely.
some of them were like very pointed against the mayor.
Yeah, it's weird because I remember it does feel very. That's what's crazy about it. It seems satirical with the slogans, but also like, yeah, I those probably already existed, right? People
Uh,
like it doesn't seem like that crazy or original. It just kind of seems like it seems like a parody, I would say,
wait, what are you saying? What's a parody?
of the slogans.
Oh yeah. I think I forget exactly what the exact things were on the whiteboard, but no, I mean, so there's that whole all that shit happens, and I kind of lost track of like what led to what, but eventually he like somehow he gets distracted. I think he's trying to go after the Native American guy, and then later when he goes back to the jail, the black officer had broken out, right? Or gotten broken out. What happened between the Native American guy running out and that? I like completely forgot.
I was going to say there's a dumpster fire that like prompts Joaquin Phoenix to go back to the station.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's implied that like Antifa, the group, like lets him out of the jail cell.
No, yeah, because I was just trying to figure out like what, like the sequence is basically the Native American police guy runs out, and then where does Joaquin go? He follows him, and then eventually he comes back to the station later. Is kind of what happens.
Mm.
Because I'm forgetting that one bit,
No,
but
that's like a very like gray area of it for sure.
it might have been right after. I forget anything that
Yeah, we don't
happened
have
that
to
split
be.
second, but so it's essentially the guy had been broken out. He realizes it. It doesn't make any sense. And then him and his fellow police officer go and track down the black cop, and he's like in this weird situation out in the desert, and he's like trying to tell them not to come closer. And
Oh
then
God.
there's like explosions and shit, and there's like a drone in the air, like filming all of it, and the movie just kind of explodes, and then Joaquin ends up with a machine gun just firing in all directions. And
Well, what's interesting is like the fact that Ari Aster shows like these fucking Antifa guys are flying on like a pretty good jet, it looks like, into this town.
Oh yeah, I do kind of remember that because I was thinking like, what is this?
And yeah, they seem organized, but yeah, I mean, it kind of reminded me of like, despite the runtime, because obviously this is longer than any other like John Carpenter movie, or like maybe even like to reference another movie like a Sinners vibe, where you kind of have like this plot and you've like have been building up these things, but you kind of just go in this like shooter direction.
Yeah, it is very similar to Sinners.
Yeah, where it's like,
Yeah, because it does seem kind of like a unreliable narrator thing. The idea that Antifa would like be would be this would be like these expert, like anonymous, almost like hacker genius. It's like just a complete fabrication.
yeah, and they're going
you
to
know?
like a small town in Colorado. They're like, well, we got to like deal with this too.
Yeah, so I don't
Which
know.
is crazy.
I wonder if he just has a psychotic break, to be honest, because it like just makes no sense. And then he gets stabbed in the face and like
Which is
survives.
really funny. Like minus like, let's just say like COVID doesn't exist and you just watch the movie, or any of, you know, it is hilarious. Like when watching, he's like, the fucking guy like runs at him and makes like a weird like, and he just goes like into his face,
Yeah.
and it's goofy, and it's like
Wait,
being
who stabs
recorded.
him again? It's one of the, it's like someone in the town, or is it?
No, it's like one of the sole survivors of the, I would assume Antifa, like the people that are like dressed
It's like
in black.
a random. See, that's I was already like,
yeah, and he's blind, and he can't breathe, and he's shooting at like.
well,
shoots
yeah,
at the
he's
Native
breaking
American,
down because he has COVID when he's like going through this whole shootout, and he has
asthma.
So I did kind of like that when he was like breathing and he like couldn't catch his breath. That
No,
was kind of
that was a really good, like, obviously you can debate whether that moment in the film is earned or not, but
that kind of is very
it's
vintage
really
John
pretty
Carpenter,
cool,
though, like you said.
yeah, and you're like, it's this camera spinning, and like you kind of see like black things in the distance, or like dumpsters or trash cans, and you as the audience are like, is that somebody with a gun? No, okay.
You know, I just watched Assault on Precinct 13 recently,
Hey.
and I think that's the first John Carpenter. And
second.
yeah, and that's like like a vintage, like, you know, a bunch of characters under assault, like they're kind of holed up, but cinematography is amazing in that movie. But yeah, that's almost like The Thing or something when Joaquin is firing this machine gun. But yeah, so he gets stabbed in the face, he becomes a vegetable.
Sorry, I hate to go back, but he shoots the fucking Native American cop with different jurisdiction.
Oh
but
yeah,
but he doesn't kill him, which is also like kind of fucked up in like a funny way. And yeah,
right. So he becomes a vegetable, and then his mom is wheeling him around saying that the towers were controlled demolition.
No, it's his fucking mother-in-law. It's the same.
Yeah, the mother-in-law, the Emma Stone mother.
Yeah, and then you kind of, I hated to think about this as a progressive person myself, but I got a Joe Biden vibe, you know?
Yeah, then you see Joaquin's hog because he's like
actually, can you like bleep the last 15 seconds of the
bleep the last. Well, you see, as I was saying in a very classy way, you see Joaquin's hog at one point because she's just like putting him on the toilet and stuff.
Yeah.
That whole epilogue thing, I was like, I would like believe that. I would like be invested in this total degeneration of this character, like we've been saying, like in a Robert Coover style. I just don't know if you survive a knife to the face, like a knife to the forehead. That's a tough sell for me. Where I'm like,
yeah,
I'm like, okay, but maybe none of that happened, and maybe it's all like an imaginary thing. But and then it kind of hints that, like, yeah, it's like Emma Stone ends up pregnant with Austin Butler's like kid, and he's like just roaming around speaking. So yeah, I feel like where I'm at with,
it's hard to like get into that aspect that like maybe it was like, you know, like a hallucination or it was
Right.
a trance, because it does feel like that, but it's so it's so fixated on, you know, like the hyper reality of everything
Right.
that it makes it kind of like hard to go in that direction, I think. So you kind of like are forced to
Yeah.
believe in it in a sort of sense, but
And then he becomes like
it's
he makes sorry to cut you
he
off.
is the mayor, yeah. But
He becomes the Make-A-Wish mayor.
oh my god, oh
Yeah,
fuck,
I'm just bringing the heat this episode. We start
oh my
off by
god,
Trump calling Kim K a disgusting pig, and we end with the Make-A-Wish mayor. This is what you get for the Eddington episode. But
yeah,
literally, though, where I get with the movie is I kind of want to see it again because there's so much going on. And
right.
I feel like it's one of those movies that there is stuff to interpret, which I appreciate. I really couldn't. So I'm in this place where I didn't hate it, but I also didn't love it just because I didn't completely understand it. I feel like I was trying to understand the first half of the movie, and then the second half started, and I was like, okay, now what the fuck is happening? Like I was literally like, who is shooting at him? And then you just figure out it's Antifa. You're just like, what? And it's like such a crazy, but I don't know. You make a lot of good points about the John Carpenter kind of feeling, where I think this could be good on a rewatch because John Carpenter is so good with this kind of genre. Like when a movie is kind of like an action movie, but it's also hilarious. And I feel like he's a bit sharper as far as his movies aren't as like long of running time.
Oh,
I think you also said that.
probably an hour or
Um,
less, yeah.
but it's just like Big Trouble in Little China. Like it's just perfect in terms of the, you know, you kind of you're shooting around and then Kurt Russell just drops like a one liner or something. And I feel like
Yeah,
Joaquin is just leaned so much into this like fumbling, bumbling, like guy that like kind of mumbles everything, that you put him in a movie like this, it's this weird counterpoint where that's not really his goal. He's not trying to be Kurt Russell in a John
no,
Carpenter
he's
movie.
kind of like a child, like in
Yeah,
a
he's a
way.
lot more. So I don't know. Again, and I don't know. I was really trying to figure out what his opinion was on the different characters because part I think the thing with Joaquin that was also interesting is he wasn't really it didn't really seem like he was full MAGA, but it felt like he was kind of leaning in that direction.
Yeah,
And
I mean, I mean, that just really pushed people further in the way that they were. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I think COVID was just like, all right, you
well,
know.
yeah, it
Well,
was like a pronounced.
he has asthma, and the whole thing is like, yeah, I like a mask doesn't help me breathe, which
Well,
is
yeah,
like
that
such
also
an
makes
interesting
perfect
fucking
sense.
thing to like put into the movie, because that's like I mean I don't know anything about that, if that's like a real thing or not, but it sounds kind
No,
of
it totally is. I mean, if someone has a tough time breathing, the mask makes it harder. I mean, I was lucky because I was mainly like working from home like during the COVID era, and that was such a blessing. But there were some gigs that I did like at times during COVID where I'd have to go in and wear a mask. And I know you had to wear a mask for like years, like working in the service industry. But I like it was just like very difficult, like to just it was a very kind of restrictive feeling, and again, it was a frustrating time just because you didn't know how long it was going to last, and there were a lot of projections about how long it was going to last, and
oh god, yeah.
it kind of just never like ended, even though we're now it's interesting we can say we're out of it now, even though aspects of what COVID was kind of remains with us, whether it be, you still see people who wear masks like I do, at least in Chicago, people will decide.
Yeah.
And I honestly I don't know what those people's explanation is. I don't know if their vibe is one day they're going to stop, or if their explanation is they're just going to do it if they kind
Yeah.
of feel unwell. I don't know.
I don't know if it's
God
like
bless them, you know.
immunocompromised or I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's probably what it is. It's like there, and I see it with like older people as well. Blah blah blah. I get it. It was something that wasn't part of our society before, and now it's here to stay. But that it is what it is. That's definitely one of the long lasting features. But no, just definitely this schizo boomer hellscape that we've inherited, that has been transplanted onto social media, and it becomes this kind of crazy thing. And I feel like one of the last, maybe it is the last scene of the movie, that kid who had been denouncing his whiteness just goes full like, I think
He's
because
like
he walks up
rich
with,
as fuck, and he has like a podcast. Is that the dude?
yeah, because doesn't he walk up with the camera and he like guns down the guy who just stabbed?
Sheriff, I saved you. It's like, how did he even have a gun? Why did he have a gun? I don't know.
And then,
But
and then the kid that was denouncing his whiteness to his parents becomes like a full on like Nelk Boys influencer. And part two of Eddington is that kid interviews Benjamin Netanyahu and he asks him, is the Whopper better than the Big Mac? Eddington 2, interviewing Benjamin Netanyahu.
I actually like Burger King more than McDonald's. I think that's your worst take.
Listen to me, Nelk Boys. Listen to me.
Oh my
Hamas
God.
is stealing the food. Hamas has stole all the food. Hey, but what do you think about McDonald's, Benji? No, I saw a thing online that was like, I think one of the guys in the Nelk thing is named like Feinberg or something. They call him like Finey or something, or no, it's Steiny.
Steiny. Yeah, Steinberg or Stein.
Steiny. That's like not even good cover. Like, I don't know. Anyway, Steiny is no wonder he had Netanyahu on. But anyway, I've not watched that interview, but I'm glad the kid from Eddington is interviewing world leaders about genocide now. That seems to be the good schizo boomer conclusion to I don't even want to use the word conclusion, but that seems to be the post COVID the post COVID like
Yeah.
revelation is that this online sphere of just like chaos and violence, and because the thing that's so bizarre with going viral is it's not even like an artistic thing. It's like a lot of times it's like real life, but then you're using your phone in a real situation. So like Kyle Rittenhouse becomes like an online.
Well, that's
he
what the whole
he
movie
becomes
felt
like a
like to me, with like the
political.
guns and shit and the confrontation.
Yeah, it is like because Rittenhouse was during COVID too.
Because it's like, protesting, but I'm going to bring my gun.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, the more we talked about it, the more I kind of do. I definitely do see the arc where there are some very good ideas like inside Eddington, the way it portrays chaos and trying to portray the contemporary moment and being honest about it and kind of involving all this chaos, because there are, I think Godard said that and Pedro Costa has said something similar where a great filmmaker allows things into their films that they don't understand. Like you can allow things in and you just don't completely understand them. And I feel like Eddington is a really good example of Ari Aster letting a lot of stuff in that he didn't completely understand. And I do really wonder if, again, because it is fair, the movie is like even-handed and stuff, but I do wonder if there was like a decision here or there to like clarify, like not necessarily the perspective, because I think his decision was more to depict it as like a setting rather than make like a moral judgment on the left or the right. And we're in such a polarizing era where it really is like political left versus political right fighting it out in this COVID world, that someone like Ari Aster, he's obviously a lib, but at the same time, I think he still makes Pedro Pascal out in such a way where he's so annoying that you can kind of just be like, okay, Ari Aster he's definitely looking at his own behavior
Yeah.
during COVID. Again, I don't think I don't think he himself is reflected in any of the characters, but you kind of get what I'm saying. I think he could look at his own behavior during COVID and be
yeah.
like, that was kind of nuts. Even if he sides more with, the mask wearing Pedro Pascal like political figure, and he kind of politically, I would highly doubt Ari Aster would vote for Joaquin in that situation. I think he has an equal amount of
I mean, he buys the guy
criticism
groceries.
for. Wait, what'd you say?
He buys that one dude groceries that like.
Yeah, that was cool. I think Ari Aster has like a pro. There is like a pro gun side, like you were saying with like the Rittenhouse thing. So there are I mean,
yeah,
the movie has right wing and left wing stuff going on kind of at the same time. It's I don't think the purpose of the movie is to guess what the political affiliation of Ari Aster
that's
is.
a great
I guess
point. That's a great point.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. This is just more like an addendum to our conversation. Is just I'm curious.
It reminded me of when we were talking about like The Apprentice, and you said, I feel like it's like we're like 20 years removed of making like a good Trump movie, like a really, and that kind of reminds me of this. It's like I do think it's pretty soon to make a 2020 movie, but I just like I said earlier, I respect the fucking balls.
Yeah. No, I appreciate the ambition of it. It was a fun movie, and no, I think Trump needs to be like dead for 20 years or 10. Even in 20, I mean, I think when he's dead for 10 years, there's still gonna be like just all out warfare
bad shit
over his like legacy and stuff. And I think in 20 years,
well, there might be like a Passion of the Christ, like like a biopic thing. That'd be pretty cool.
A Trump as Christ. No, because dude, like
Melania cheats on him.
Well, the reality is that we really don't have great movies on every president. I mean, I don't think we've even had a good LBJ movie. I mean, LBJ was so much more interesting than because his biographers, they want to pretend like he didn't kill Kennedy, but on top of that, he's so fucking crazy. He's such a crazy guy that I think anyone that involves LBJ in a movie, they just cut out like 90% of any story that anyone ever told about him. But if you made a movie about him, honestly, and everything he did, everything he could have did, it would be like, I mean, Trump would look like the most polite person. I mean, LBJ
he comes between like very, he comes between JFK and fucking Nixon, so
yeah, because
that might be something that adds to the lack of the filmmaking, but
right, because I feel like where Americans are very disconnected from our own history is thinking that the president is always supposed to be like George Washington, Barack Obama, kind of reserved, kind of willing to let other people. And I think George Washington was probably a better president than Obama as far as like all the great things that he did as far as like the precedents and stuff. And he was a total genius. Like a lot of
like bombing people in Yemen, bro.
Well, that's not the whole other thing, but you kind of get the point I'm making as far as
for sure.
The presidential president. And when you look back just a little further, when you look at LBJ straight on, was he really presidential? It's like no one really cared because it was the 60s and he controlled the media. Like the media didn't like report on how insane this guy was, like getting naked in front of people, pulling out his dick, being like, called his dick Jumbo. He's like, look at Jumbo, just like whipping
shitting
out
in front of people.
Like a bunch of reporters. Yeah, shitting. In front of people.
I don't shit in front of my pets, dude.
No, yeah, you shouldn't. And
well, I mean,
but the point I'm making is just in regards to like making a movie about a political leader. And also just understanding politics and American politics. Do I think that, there's the American president should be one way or another? Again, I think there's a reason American presidents have had this sense of being presidential and stuff. There are things you do, things you don't do. You're not supposed to like walk all over people, but we have had Andrew Jackson types or Lyndon Baines Johnson or Trump, you know, to say if Trump is good or bad is kind of a simplification in regards to analyzing a complex character. And I feel like a great movie about him will be honest about his faults and stuff for sure, but it will also kind of get closer to understanding his appeal that you know a movie like Eddington really supercharges because the COVID stuff, it wound up the kind of person that is pro gun, pro freedom, and it made them even more pumped to vote for someone who says whatever they want and who
Yep.
will fight with people because the opposing side is ghastly to the MAGA side. Like the Pedro Pascal, you can say this, you can't say that, you got to wear a mask inside. That whole thing is so offensive to the opposing side. And COVID really was like a powder keg in that way. And, you know, a movie about Trump that someone's going to make in 20 years, good luck making a movie about Trump. I can't even imagine how much shit you would not feature in the movie. You know, if you were just doing the 12 years that he was president and then not president, it's just total chaos, you know. And if you even made like a part about COVID, it would be impossible to even synthesize it, you know, which really again tells us how close our proximity is to this. That you know, I don't know if I would say Trump did a good job during COVID, but as far as his response to COVID, but I would say pretty much everyone else failed as well. Like Pedro Pascal
Yeah.
and Joaquin were failures. I mean, they both didn't really know how to address like those archetypes of people. Pretty much failed. I mean, I didn't get out of the pandemic thinking that we figured out how to deal with that. That just seemed like a lot of failure to me, which is, you know, maybe what's unsatisfying about aspects of Eddington, but I think maybe that's one reason I'd like to rewatch it is just I feel like some of that might just be a feature of the era being really frustrating and feeling like it's still up for debate and it's still really hard to like explain what even happened. It's just like reality is just so hard to explain. And you know, Trump, I mean, that's where I get with it is like, yeah, you can love Trump, you can hate Trump, but he's very complicated to explain. I think trying to simplify a historical figure like Trump is a mistake. You know, I think that's a big mistake that filmmakers are going to make for years. And the movie The Apprentice, it's not even about him being president, which makes it a little easier. And the movie's pretty honest as far as I'm concerned. It was historically accurate for the most part. I don't think it necessarily gets into everything about Trump. But again, I think you know time needs to pass. The files need to be released for a more complete picture.
Hey,
And,
come on!
no, yeah, I just went on an unhinged rant. Cool. So yeah, we talked about Trump and COVID on this episode. I'm sure this episode will not get taken off of YouTube.
No, I mean the Epstein one's fine.
Well, yeah,
Somehow.
just at the height of COVID, you like couldn't even like. I feel like it was just so sketch to like talk about like vaccines and stuff like on a podcast, but whatever. We didn't question the vaccine or anything.
Nah.
So anyway, I think that's pretty much all I had to say. Do you have anything else you want to add?
Rosie O'Donnell.
Good night.
Much love.